What is up, Winning Wealthers? We are back again. It's your boy, Jeff. They call me G Money. I got B-Rock down here in Brickell, Miami, so he's virtual today. But we have an amazing guest, Robert Martinez, the apartment rock star. The guy owns over 5,000 apartment units, just a staggering amount. He's going to deliver the goods on how to get into real estate and how to scale to a phenomenal level that he's at. And he's been through a lot of trials and tribulations, just very admirable. So tune in and hope you like it. That's me in a nutshell. You're almost too, but maybe we do that after. I don't think we were that close. All right, we are back, Winning Wealthers. We have a phenomenal guest today, someone that Brock and I have looked up to for a long time and followed in this real estate investment game. We started off in the multifamily business, and Robert Martinez is an absolute rock star in that space. So I'd love to kind of hear your background in your words, aside from what I said, and just, take it from the beginning of how you got into real estate, why you chose multifamily, and where you're going from here. And we'll peel back the onion and try to ask some questions to help really get to the bottom of who is Robert Martinez.
All right. Well, hey, Jeff and Brock, thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm super, super excited to be on it. Nobody comes out of the womb knowing about real estate. Everybody has an origin story. You got to figure it out. So my origin story started in deep South Texas. That's where I'm from, really close to the border between the United States and Mexico. My father worked in the fast food industry for over 40 years. My mother worked for Levi's and Hager's before those plants eventually shut down and went south. And real estate was not part of my life. The only real estate my family owned was the house that I lived in. But they were my first mentors. And my first mentor said, go to school and get good grades. So that's what I did. I got decent grades, went to Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas, graduated with an engineering degree in 1997 and went out into the workforce. And of course, who are your next mentors? Your professors. And they're telling you out there to go out there and give it your all and interview well and get a good job and work for 40 years and you can maybe retire at 65. That was the plan that I think 95% of Americans have been groomed under. There's another plan though. It's about being an entrepreneur. But in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to have something inside of you. Something has to push you to do that. There's got to be a moment in your life where, man, I don't like what I'm doing. And I had that moment in my life after 10 years working in oil and gas sales. I was a sales manager. I led sales teams. I got tired of my commission getting monkeyed with. And after the third time that my commission got monkeyed with, it pissed me off. And that's what I mean. You got to have some sort of defining moment. It pissed me off. And I had this epiphany moment that helped me recognize and realize that I did not have control of my financial future. My boss did, which means that he has control of when I'm going to retire. He has control of the kind of lifestyle I'm going to lead and probably the kind of schools my kids are going to go to. And I realized that I needed to have that control back. So I began looking around, and you've got to be educating. In your 20s, you've got to be grinding and educating yourself, right? Because the only difference between a guy making $1 million a year and a guy making $100,000 a year is information. That's the only difference. Just like when the conquistadors go and they conquer, the Aztecs or the Indians, right? They had technology. They had information. They had something that they did not have. That's the only difference. If you put it together and balance it out, I think the Indians would have kicked the shit out of the conquistadors, right? But they didn't have that technology. They didn't have, the steel weapons, bronze weapons. And I think that's what happens in life is that these guys that get ahead have information. So you need to go and educate yourself. So I was educating myself in the only ways I knew how, business radio. And I remember listening to Susie Orman, Ray Lucia, Dave Ramsey, all these guys that were these financial gurus, but they're just teaching you another level of what I already know is work hard and save your money and put it in the stock market. And maybe when you're, 55, 65, you can retire. I stumbled upon a crazy guy at a real estate club that showed me a different way. And after about 2 years of listening to him, I joined his club. First I went to the case study event, the free night where a member like me can get up on the stage and tell their story, how he bought this single family house or how he bought this multifamily. And I'm like, wow, there's nothing special to that guy, Brock. There's nothing special to this guy. Why can't I do it? So I invest $500 and I go to the 2-day boot camp. And on Saturday, I'm learning all about single family house. And I'm thinking, man, I'm going to be the single family king when I'm done with this class. I'm going to buy 4 or 5 rent houses. I'm going to show my employer. I'm going to make up for the money that they were taking from me in any kind of, commission restructuring. And I thought I was set. I tell my wife at the time that I'm going to write a $10,000 check and I'm going to join the club tomorrow, which is Sunday. She goes, no way. Without me, you're not writing this check without me. She goes, I'm going to go with you. And $10,000 in 2007 is quite a bit of money. And she comes with me, and that's the day they teach multifamily. And I'm learning forced appreciation. I'm learning how you can really wealth multiply everything. And the light went off on me. I'm like, that's where I need to do. So I wrote that $10,000 check. I joined the real estate class and immediately got immersed into a Rich Dad Poor Dad book. In fact, that was the first required reading, was Rich Dad Poor Dad. And if you have not read that, you're hurting yourself. That is the primer 101 of what we do on a day-to-day basis, whether it's single family houses or multifamily. Read that. And what's really crazy, right? This is the difference. When I was in college and I was coming home for a winter break one time, I had a cassette audio version of Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I put it on in my car. And maybe 2 hours in, I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This made no sense to me. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This guy's full of shit. I ejected it, threw it out the window somewhere on the Texas highway. It was amazing to me that fast forward 10 years later, I'm in this real estate club and they say this is required reading. I read it and it's amazing how different my emotional maturity was. I could understand what they were saying now because the real estate club was a giant Rich Dad Poor Dad book that had come to life. You have all these wannabe investors. And so my key to mentioning this is that you got to get in a network. You've got to shake hands and kiss babies, and you got to get known, and you got to find out what people are doing, and you got to be in a support system, this ecosystem of everybody wanting to do the same thing. So I joined that club, and before on, I met my first partner, and he and I went on to buy 10 deals together, over 2,000 units, and I was the COO. I was the chief financial arm, the operational arm of that business, and I took us through the recession. I got us refinance events, 100% out, and then just like in any partnership, there's a beginning and there's an end, and all partnerships end because of one thing, and that's money. And that's because you're not with that partner. You're married to his wife too. You may not get the benefits of his wife, but you're going to get her opinion and you're going to hear all that and it's going to cloud him. And that's kind of what happened in my situation. The stack started to not be so equal anymore. And long story short, he tried to cut my neck one Christmas morning. And I'm like, I'm done with it. So 3 months later, I'm forming Rockstar. Since forming Rockstar in 2011, I've gone to buy over 30 apartment deals. I have 8,000 apartment units to my name of underwriting. I did the underwriting for, I did the fundraising, I did the business plan, cradle to grave. Our company, Rockstar Capital, has gone on to win 19 City State National Apartment Association awards. I'm a 5-time apartment owner of the year. And my biggest accolade is that I'm the only person to ever win the National Apartment Association Owner of the Year twice. And that's a big deal when you think about how many apartment owners are out there, how many guys. I won that battle twice. They're right here. And I'm very, very proud of my award. I consider myself one of the premier operators in the country because I'm a human being. I get sales, and sales is being understood by your prospect and you understanding your prospect. What are your needs? Here are my needs. Can we solve each other's needs? Can we create a win-win situation? Because what they don't teach you in real estate clubs and what they don't teach you until you're an operator is that you make all your money when people renew, not when they move in. That's the key. When they renew and they get that second year, that third year, you spend no money. So your NOI goes up because you have less expenses. And if anything, you get increased income. When they move out, you got anywhere from $3,500 to $5,000 of expenses from getting the unit ready, rent ready condition, to vacancy loss, to marketing costs, to commission costs, whatever. It's there. If they had not left, you would not have spent that money. And that's the key to my success. Understanding, having that engineering background that helps me understand pretty good at numbers, understanding that $1 divided by a 5% cap is $20. So every dollar of NOI that I create is worth $20 of valuation. If you knew that a $10 rent bump on a 200 unit apartment complex can create $400,000 to $600,000 of valuation just with $10 per unit, you're going to do everything you can to create multiple scenarios like that. And I don't think a lot of guys get that. I get that. And that's why we've done 100% cash out refinance events. That's why we've been able to keep our deals afloat in this floating rate environment. And it's why we're still afloat right now. It's why we're successful. So thank you for allowing me to be on here. I hope that wasn't too long-winded. I just wanted you guys to get the breadth of my background.
No, man, that was great.
So I got a question kind of going back on that. I really do want to dive into the operations because I think multifamily, the name of the game is asset management and operations. So I think let's go back to how the first deal. So you're in the sales role. I'm assuming you're making 6-figure salary.
Yeah.
What was that first deal, right? What was the first deal you did with that?
Yeah. So when I first bought my first deal, I walked away from my day job. I was making about $150,000 a year. And this is back in 2007, so it's pretty good money. I don't know what that is today, but I think it's a lot more today. And I remember falling in love with real estate, falling in love with leasing apartments to where I stopped going to my day job and I started spending all my time on my side hustle, my moonlighting. And once I got to a position of strength, I walked away. I walked away from my day job within the first year of me joining the real estate club.
Wow.
And I realized this is my financial future. So I actually took a pay cut. All right, because I had a management fee that my partner and I were splitting. And my cut was, I don't know, I think it was $3,500 a month. That's far cry from making $150,000 for the year. But I realized it was only short term. I realized that I put $200,000 of my cash into this investment. And if I can double this up, I'm going to make a whole lot more. Plus, I haven't written a check to the government for taxes since 2007. So when they had these COVID checks that came out recently, when they had these other benefit checks that we got, I got that because I showed zero income. And once I was able to show that to my ex-wife, I had all her support because she thought it was like smoke and mirrors. This doesn't make sense. How does depreciation work? Wait, I made $500,000. How come we don't have to write a check to the government? Well, because I invested in this $10 million apartment deal, I put $200,000 into it, and I get an override share of the depreciation, and we don't know anything. And she was fascinated that actually existed, and so that was a huge bonus to me because it wasn't just my $3,500 a month, $4,000 a month. It was we didn't have to pay in taxes, which at least was $100,000. And then a year later, I'm turning our money around, pulling another $200,000 out because I did the refinance event. And then, of course, what do? I take that $200,000, put it right back into another deal. And you start compounding. In fact, my first 3 deals that I bought refinanced twice. When I got the third one refinanced, it was time for the first one to refinance its second time. And then when I got that one deployed, my second one, it was time for that to refinance the second time. So my first 8 deals were funded off the first deal because I'm putting $200,000 and just continue it to just blow up, and double down through the refinance event. And granted, this is 07, 08. I was buying deals at $24,000 a door. I was seeing 10% cap rates, right? Because it was risky. It was risky back then. You think, wait, how could there be risk? But there was risk buying $24,000 a door. I didn't know the 1% rule back then. Where if you can buy a deal if a deal is $100,000 of valuation, if you can get rents at $1,000, you're going to make money on that deal. Well, when I'm buying at 24.5, the average rent was 600, 500. Of course I was going to make money. Of course, I didn't know that. And that was good because I made some mistakes in that first deal. I remember underwriting my first deal. I didn't take into account some of the discounts, and I was $50 over on year one on my underwriting. And I was like, oh my God, I've killed this deal. I've messed this up. We're never going to make any money until year 2 or 3. But there's other ways to make money, other income opportunities, pushing amenity fees, doing all these kind of things, late fees that I was unaware of. I was just focused on occupancy. You kind of have to learn it. You kind of have to learn it. And before long, you get really good at it. And once you realize how to make money, it's now my turn to teach my asset team how to think like an owner. And I'm just going to cover this and I'm going to turn it right back to you guys. There's a difference between property management and asset management. Property management is there to focus on occupancy, take care of resident needs, and literally put heads in beds. Asset management is responsible for shareholder value. Asset management is responsible for creating the business plan and having the property management company do it. Whether you got to use a, carrot or stick approach, asset management represents ownership and is there to increase shareholder value. Property management has to follow my business plan. And that can be a value add. That could be other income generators like an amenity or valet trash. Right now, we just added a parcel pending, which is kind of like a giant Amazon locker. And we're going to get $15 a month. We are getting $15 a month from it. I found this. I inherited this contract. They were paying over $3,000 a month for the locker. I went and paid a buyout, brought a company called Parcel Pending, paid them an installation cost, and I cut it from $3,000 to $100 a month. That's monster valuation, and I'm still getting my $15. So that's what asset management does. They look at the numbers. See, they don't have to worry about Susie and Jose coming in and knocking on the door paying rent. They're just looking at the financials. How can I maximize my NOI growth? Property management is just there to implement the plan. And that's the two differences you got to have. I didn't know early on. To me, I ran a property management company and asset management was all intertwined because I was asset management. I was the head of property management. I did them both. Didn't realize it's actually two distinct functions once you get a little larger and you have money to pay for somebody else to do it for you. But the key for us is teaching my asset managers how to think like an owner.
So nowadays, are you guys vertically integrated, or do you shop?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So I made a mistake. Grant Cardone is a great mentor of mine, and he's given me some great advice. But one of the bad advice that he gave me was for me to grow faster and get out of the property manager chair and go hire a third party. Now, we had our golden years at Rockstar from 2011 to 2020. At that point, people start leaving. You start getting a little long in the tooth and start dealing with issues. I just didn't want to deal with them. So I was like, you know what? I'll use Grant's property management company. And that was a mistake because an independent owner has a different overhead structure than a big box third party management company with, 150,000 units. And I learned the hard way. They have no skin in the game. They're not really motivated to help you. They're motivated to push occupancy because that's how they measure themselves, but they'll do it at all costs. So they ran me into the ground. They bled my reserves. And when I took back the portfolio in July, I had roughly about 25-30% of the original cash that I started with them in just a year. And part of that was because of floating rate debt, but it wasn't all related to that. Now that I've taken it back, we cut third party contract services. They were using them everybody under the sun. I have a preferred list, and these are people that I trust that we have pricing with, not some ABC company on the west side of town and XYZ company from out of town coming in to do work. These are guys that I know. I don't want to see my property management company at the rodeo in suite tickets because I know I paid for that. I don't want to see you at big events and them sponsoring yourself because I know I paid for that. So we have everything integrated in within our company, again, as we did the first 10 years of our business. And all of our expenses have come way down from where they were in July when we reassumed control. From contract services to payroll, I had 30 open holes in my business. Within 30 days of getting it back, I filled every single hole because we had our own in-house recruiter. We cut OT by 80% because we didn't have enough people in the chair. We stopped using personnel companies because we didn't have enough people in the chair. All that has gone to near zero because we took control. We don't use third-party contract services because we do things in-house. I wish I had a couple pictures I could show you of different projects that we've done where somebody said it was going to cost us $8,000 and we did it for like $500. Our landscaping company wanted to charge us $3,000 from landscaping, for a couple of pallets of flowers and some mulch when we could do the whole thing for $500. That's the way an independent owner thinks. That's how you get your NOI up. You got to do it. Remember, they don't have skin in the game. They're trying to build their business. You're trying to build your business. I'm not going to send you $1 because every time I send you $1, that's $20 of valuation. So if I would have sent that group, $8,000 times $20, that's $160,000 of lost valuation. But because I kept it, I kept my valuation. And you keep building, like you're building a building brick by brick by brick. So you get to a new building, you have it reappraised, you have new valuation, and now you can decide to sell or cash out or do a refinance and pull cash out.
There's so much good stuff that you'd already that you'd said, even going back to when you initially introduced yourself. And so there's a couple things that I wanted to touch on, but we completely agree about the asset manager has a different has different metrics that they look at and that they care about versus the property manager. We talk about that a lot in our own meetings and on this show it comes up, but. I completely agree there. And I want to make sure that, sometimes because we're real estate guys and this is not only a real estate show, but I get feedback from people a lot of times where they're like, man, this all, it resonates with me. Like I understand, every increase in rent or increase in NOI, has a direct correlation to the increase in value of the property. But we said a lot there. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to kind of unpack it so that somebody that maybe has never bought anything other than a duplex or a house can sort of make the jump from looking at a 200 unit apartment building and seeing that scale.
Well, let's look at it together, right? Let me help you with that, right? Because it's all about money for me. If you're not a sales, because see, I tell my manager, I have 2 meetings a week. I have my leadership meeting on Mondays. We go through what happened last week. I know that I had 205 leases on Sunday. At my manager's meeting on Wednesday, manager's only meeting with the executive team, we were up to 225. We set a February record. In fact, that's the highest leasing we've had in the last 10 months. Thank you, right? But it all started months ago to get to this point, right? But my point is you got to know your numbers and you have to explain to your team how this works. So my team understands what I call the magic formula. Right? And the magic formula simply is your total NOI divided by your cap rate. That's your valuation. So if you take your calculator, $1 divided by 0.05, the cap rate is what the lender's going to use, a 5% cap rate on, let's say, on a B plus Class A deal, is $20. If you were to raise rent $10, and you had 200 single-family homes, what would your single-family home valuation be? It'd be the exact same as what it was before you raised the $10. That only went to cash flow. But if you raise $10 times 200 units times 12 divided by a cap rate of 0.05, you've raised your valuation $480,000. So let me repeat that again. $10 move on rent on 200 single family houses means nothing to you. It's another $200 or whatever it is, that's $2,000. But a $10 rent bump on 200 units on a 5% cap rate created you $480,000. Why wouldn't you focus on that? When I heard that in that 2-day real estate boot camp, I was sold. I'm like, I can get $10 rent bumps, or I can find ways to rework a service contract. I can go get a new waste contract that's going to save me $10 a unit. I could add valet trash and charge the residents $25. I'm going to pay $12, and I'm going to keep $13 every single month. So I'm going to find multiple ways. I'm going to make it a requirement so that in 12 months, every new lease and every renewal is under that. To me, that's the magic. When you can create wealth, and I didn't hurt anybody to do it. That's the crazy thing. I didn't have to take from you. All I had to do was create an addendum and say, I'm going to charge you this, or I signed a new landscaping contract. Last month, we signed a new contract that started February 1st for landscaping. We saved $13,000 a month across the portfolio. $13,000 times 12, divided by 0.05, we made $3 million of portfolio valuation with a new contract. I didn't take from anybody. The landscaper says, I'll do it for that number. And we increase our rates by 3. So that's how I think you explain to a newbie is that you're not going to get any more on your single family house than what the area comp says your house is worth. You can charge $100 more in rent than me. It doesn't matter if our house is identical. But if you charge more money on your multifamily, you've increased the valuation of your property. And now the lender sees that it's worth more. And guess what? Lenders want to lend. Give them a reason to give you money. They'll give you that extra money to go buy it, refinance it, whatever, or to someone to buy it from you because their lender will give them the money. And as soon as you understand that, it's pretty simple. You don't want to do single family. Everybody's got to start somewhere. If you have no money, then you got to start doing like flips. You got to do like wholesaling. And then you get into like single family investing, and you can decide if you want to be a flipper or you hold it for a little bit and then sell it in 2 years. Once you get enough money, you go into multifamily. I'm thinking like $100,000. You need some cash to start with, and you go in there and you do it. Now that's your only $100,000. Then no, you don't do it. You stay in single family until you can raise enough money that you can put over here in multifamily, and maybe you keep the two working because the single family doesn't give you the tax depreciation that you get on multifamily. So everybody wants to end in multifamily. And I think that's how you would sell it to a newbie.
I got a question on that.
Yeah.
I was going to, the question that we've talked about before, and we always get a different answer. Do you think, and we'll go back to this topic after, but someone that buys a single family home to live in, is that considered an investment?
No, it's a liability. I have a $3 million house. I pay $1,000 a month for my landscaping. I pay a pretty heavy electric bill. I pay for pest control. I pay when things break. I have to decorate it for the holidays. I spend thousands of dollars to get my outdoor and everything going. And I would not have any of those expenses if I was renting an apartment. Right? It'd be part of my rent, which would be, I don't know, I mean, it might be $10,000, but that's what my mortgage is anyway. I got to spend a lot more money for my insurance for my house. I wouldn't have if I just had renter's coverage. I mean, the bigger the value, right? You're going to pay more. So I pay quite a bit for my monthly home insurance, but I only have renter's insurance if I live in an apartment. If something breaks, I just pick up the phone and I call somebody. So your home is four walls and a roof, no matter how you do it, just like a car, right? They're all going to get you from point A to point Z. It's how you want to ride. Now, I have a nice car. Does it cost me insurance? Yeah, but I like how I feel in that car. It's a reminder. I've got a G-Wagon, I've got a Bentley. My G-Wagon is my daily. My Bentley is my date night. My Bentley's paid off for 3 years already. I bought it when I got divorced in 2018, and I've had it since, and I've paid it off. I could sell it. I don't want to. I like it. I like how I feel under 700 horse with a convertible down. My daily driver is a G-Wagon. Does that cost me more in Mercedes to get it? Yes, it does. But that's part of owning a Mercedes. I feel good when I'm driving it. It's an accomplishment reminder. Just like my house is, do I need 7,000 square feet? No, I don't. It's just me. And when my boys come see me, every other weekend or when they come drop by, because my boys are already they're upper teens already. But I choose to do that. So everything's a choice. It's a liability that I'm willing to take. But I know that my ego costs me money. Grant talks about like a $300,000 watch. This is a nice Panerai that I got for myself in Christmas. I have Rolexes. I didn't want to wear it. I have a Panerai that cost me, I think I paid 17. But it's what I wanted to remember of what I went through in 2023 of all the bullshit with Jerome Powell and rate hikes and what have you. Right? So it's an ego trip, but can you afford the ego trip? If I was starting out today, I would only rent. It makes no sense to put money in a house. I put money into a rental house that somebody else is paying for. Someone else is paying the insurance. Someone else is paying for the landscaping. Someone else is paying for all the other costs associated with living in that house. And I would live in an apartment. Now, maybe you live in a duplex or a fourplex. That's kind of the same thing. You live in one piece of it. Somebody else pays the other expenses. I know at some point when my kid moves out of his dorm, I'll probably buy him a rent house because I know he'll have roommates and they'll cover the mortgage. Why am I going to go put an apartment? When his roommates will cover it. Actually, his roommates' parents will cover it. So it just depends on your financial literacy and your emotional maturity on how you look at money. Does my house cost me more than what it would at a penthouse on the 35th floor like I used to? Yes, it does. But at my level, it's nice to have people come over to my 7,000 square foot house. And this is not bragging. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to tell you that at this point in my career, at nearly 50 years old, there are things that I want to celebrate. I want to come home and not have to smell weed. I want to come home and not have to hear neighbors of playing loud music or somebody banging in the next apartment. I don't want to hear that. I want to come home in my own quiet space. I want to go outside of my pool, which is blue and quiet, and I just want to sit there. If I want to invite a friend over, I'll invite a friend over. But those are choices that I've earned. In my early 20s, I haven't earned that yet. I shouldn't be going out drinking and spending $200 on the weekend at a bar. I haven't earned to do that. Last night I had a date and I had spent quite a bit of money at Nobu, but I had a wonderful date. It was fun, but I should not be doing that in my early 20s. I should be saving that and getting ready for an apartment investment. Because your 20s is for grinding. Girls and all that shit will be there later on in life. And guess what? Let me tell you a little secret. You get better looking, the more successful you are. You get in your 30s and your 40s, and you are self-sustaining. You're a healthy man. You don't need any help. You're not living with mom and dad. Your kids are a representation of who you are, and they're getting into like the top colleges, and they know their Bible left and right. That's my calling card, right? But in my 20s, I got to be grinding. So I wish I had me to tell me this in my 20s. I would never have thrown out that that Rich Dad Poor Dad book out of college. I would have said, dummy, listen to this and let me explain it to you. Because my kids have heard the Rich Dad Poor Dad book a couple of times in the car on road trips, right? That's my role. That's what I should have been. That's what I wish somebody had done for me. But, my dad couldn't do that. He was working all the time and he was fast food and he knew he just knew, I don't want you doing what I'm doing. I want you to go to school because you're better than me. Go do something better. And that's what I try to teach my kids. So, I think it's a great, I know I went on a couple of different tangents on your question, but man, no, I don't think it's a asset at all. I think it's a liability. But later in life, if you're hosting parties and you got networking functions and people are handing you $100,000 checks, they don't want to do it in your apartment, no matter how nice the penthouse is. They want to do it where they know they can find you at XYZ address in a prestigious neighborhood, and they can drop by any time and they see how you're living. I know my first check, I could not just give the guy the money. I went to his house. My partner is who it was. Gave him $200,000 to invest in that first deal. And there was no way I was just going to wire it in. I don't know you. You're from London. Are you going to move back? Going to take all of my money? I've never done a real estate deal. I drove to his house. I went to the county records, make sure that he owned the house. Yeah, I wanted to know, who are you? Are you this fake Lambo guy, or do you actually own this mansion? And that's how it was. And I think when you get to that level, there's a certain expectation. And so for me, that's how I see it. My house is an asset because of what it does for me mentally and what it does for me in terms of networking. When who's come over? I've had a few people come over. When they see my house, you got to be representative of it.
I love that.
I agree. Yeah, we ask people that a lot, and there's some mixed opinions on that, but and I think it's when you've gotten to a point where it makes a lot of sense, where it makes sense, and you can have some other benefits that, like, wealth isn't always or assets isn't always. I think about wealth as owning income producing assets, but again, part of this show is about your health and your happiness too. I view health as an asset. I try to work out most mornings, try to eat right and get good sleep and track that stuff so that, and I view that as an asset, even though it doesn't show up on the balance sheet or my personal financial statement. What stuff do you do for a health related causes or your happiness that you view or feel like helps build your business?
Yeah, I'll give you another example, right? Like, let's say you're making $2,000 a year and you're working a normal 40-hour schedule. It's 20/80. Being on the show for the hour would cost me $1,000. And I'm not asking to be paid to be on the show, but my value is giving back. My value is who's watching your show. I've got DMs left and right from people saying, hey, I saw you on Brad Lee's show. Hey, I saw you on Grant Cardone's YouTube. Hey, I saw you on Rod Khali's podcast. I really resonate with what you said. I saw you with Rick Summers, or I saw you with, what's the guy with the funny hair in Vegas, Natalie?
Pineda.
Yeah, there you go, Pineda. I saw you on Pineda. You made a lot of sense. Like, that's what you want. That's what you pay for. So you give up your time so I can be seen by your audience. That's why Grant's always doing all these, he gets it. You want to get on other people's stages. You want to get known. So I think there's a give back to that because it helps your show. It gives you content. It's a win-win for me because I get to, it's like when artists collaborate and they do like a Justin Bieber, Ed Sheeran, or some, country singer and a rap singer doing a song together. What's that group? Marshmello and the kid that says, I got one thing right.
I don't think it's Morgan Wallen, is it?
Or Morgan Wallen or somebody, right? It's like you collaborate to share an audience.
Yep.
And I was on a stage a couple weekends ago at the Multifamily Investor Network, and it's a stage of syndicators. And I hate that word because I'm not a syndicator. I'm an operator that syndicates, but I'm not a syndicator. And we got into talking about operating. They didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. They were just talking about this, that. I'm like, nah, man. This is what's going on. This is how you do it. And you own the stage because, you're a 2-time national owner of the year. They didn't just give that award for anything. You earned that. You took that award. So what I do, look, I think as I gotten older, health and fitness is very important. I definitely try to go to the gym 3 times a week. I wish I could do more. I need to do more. I think people that look healthy are going to do better financially. I think you feel better about yourself. I think it's all about discipline. I think the healthier you look, the more I think stable your life is. Because I've been in points in my life in my 40s before my divorce where I was like, man, I would wake up at 5 o'clock. I'm at the gym at 6:30. I've eaten my breakfast. I shower. I go do cardio, and I'm out to work. And by 8:39, I'm there, and I've already done 2-3 hours of work, and my head's working. I think that's why a lot of reason why people do these cold plunges, right? Because it's supposed to give you this amazing high that lasts all day long. I have not done a cold plunge. It's not true. I went out to a resort and I did it for a very quick amount, like 30 seconds. I couldn't really hack it. But I can see how people are doing it every day and they need that to wake up. And if it can wake you up and get your brain stimulated, that's great. In my higher end, I used to do Snapchat a lot, and I'd be walking outside doing cardio around my neighborhood, and I'd be doing private video Snapchats to my team only, sharing what's going on in my head so they can brain share. So I definitely think that fitness is a big piece of somebody's health. I think, and I don't mean health, I mean mental health. I think when guys are super fit, especially as they get older, Grant's a great example. Man, it shows you where he's at in his head. Like, this guy's got it. I think that, there was somewhere I was going to go with that. I think when you do a lot of give back to the community, I think you're also in a very good spirit, a very good mindset. I think real estate changed my life. That $10,000 check that I wrote to the real estate club in 2007 was the single best decision by a long shot that I ever did. It changed my life, my family tree. It changed the lives of my investors, especially those early ones from 2007 that have seen their money just duplicate, 4, 5, 7x since 2007. I think when you're in a really good mental state, it shows in multiple ways. You get back to your team, you show it in the gym, and you get back to the community.
I totally agree. And I think a lot about discipline from a perspective of, it's the promises that you make to yourself and keeping those. And we all struggle with it. There's times where I'm like, man, you get busy and there's something that you want to get done and you skip the gym, right?
And it's harder, Jeff, because as you get older, problems get bigger, but the thing is, you want problems because problems mean more money. You don't want problems. You don't want white space in your calendar. You want a full calendar of things because that's opportunity for you. And you do want the struggles. It doesn't matter how much we don't. The struggle is how you grow. You probably saw The Dance. You've seen other great shows. Michael Jordan has said it. I learned nothing from the wins. It's the losses that we remember. Well, you had to struggle to get to that loss. I know we struggled last year. We had some issues that we had, especially with, the taking back the portfolio, where everybody's here working to 9 o'clock every night because we had to keep moving forward to gobble up the portfolio back. But you reach a level in you that you didn't know was there. And I'm going to tell you, once you know it's there, you never go back. And I know Grant went through that in '08 himself because he told me. Once you dig down and you find this other level that you didn't know was there, it never leaves you. I'm a better operator today than what I was before my struggles because I had to dig deep. I think, look, you guys are good looking guys. You're in the gym, right? You know what I'm talking about. Remember when you used to struggle to do 185? And now you can bench 225?
I don't know if Brock can, but I'm just kidding.
Okay, that's all right. It's all right. Well, you'll get the analogy. Some days you feel stronger than others. Other days, man, I just don't have it. You can't do the 225, a couple 3 reps. I mean, that's my PR. I can't really do much more. 245, I think, is the most I've ever done, but I can do 225, 2 or 3 times. But some days I just can barely get 1. But I can always go back to 185 and I can rub out 10, 15. So once your muscle gets built to a certain level, yeah, maybe you can't PR that day. Maybe you're not in your best, but you can always go back to a previous PR from another time in your life, and you can rep the shit out of that. And that's growth, right? You don't go backwards. You only go backwards if you stop, right? You've all probably done that too, right? Where we just don't go to the gym, and it's been like a year. We go back like, oh my God, I can barely do 135 because but then very quickly your muscle gets used to it again within 6 weeks, and now you're back up to like 175 because your muscle remembers. But you didn't test it. And I think that's the key is that you have to keep testing yourself and you got to keep pushing yourself. And the guys that get to a tremendous physique in their late 40s, 50s, and 60s have had a really good life. They haven't had those, major up and downs like, somebody, a divorce or something tragic. I lost my dad in 2016 and that took a piece out of me, right? Because that's your first mentor and your father and all the memories you have with him. So it takes you a moment to rebalance yourself. Divorce followed for me a little bit later because it was just a crumbling effect of things that occur. And so you start to lose focus on fitness, right? It's when you see these guys have been able to maintain and overcome it, it's really admirable. I remember when I was visiting with Grant in 2018, we had a YouTube video of me and my boys visiting his office. He looks very different than the Grant today. I mean, yeah, he looks younger, but boy, he looks much ripper. It's like he found this next level. I think it was him, and that's when he was meeting Gary Brecka, found this next level of fitness for himself. And now he looks like, a brick shit house. I mean, he just looks fucking amazing the way he looks, and he's got arms and he's got and you see it in his attitude. And I think his relationship with Elena looks so much stronger than what he did back then because he feels better. And he's probably chasing her around the house with all the stuff that he's probably taking now, right? And that's a good life, right? I mean, come on, you have your wife, you want to be desirable for her, and you want to chase her around. She's always looked good, but now she looks like she's got a bigger smile now. And it's probably because Grant's chasing her around the mansion,
I love that. So maybe I got kind of a closing question here we can go through is opportunity on the horizon. What is your view of the next 1, 2, 3 years?
Well, number one, I think we all agree that the Fed has paused rates. And I had to feel every single one. I bought a deal last year or 2 years ago that was the day before the first rate hike. And it hurt because it was floating rate debt. Nobody knew what was going to happen. But I think we would all agree that as the Fed raised interest rates, cap rates went up with it. I think we agree that they've paused. And I think there's and somebody once said to me, ignore the noise, just listen to what the Fed's saying. They're going to drop rates 3 times. Forget what Bank of America, Goldman, whoever's making 5, 6, as a guess. Jerome Powell, that devil, has said that he's going to reduce rates 3 times. So if he's going to reduce rates 3 times, that means the cap rates are going to come down with it. So if you can buy a deal right now, you're going to get some built-in equity that's going to happen when that cap rate comes down. I don't know so you guys are in Wisconsin. I don't know how your insurance and your taxes are. I'm in the Gulf Coast. We took a blood bath on both taxes and insurance. It looks like we're going to get some relief this year. So if you're buying something high and you know that your insurance is going to be better than what I had to pay last year, that's more built-in equity that's going to come in. So I think anything you buy today will be worth more at the end of the year, even if you did nothing. Number one. Second part that is that all the experts from CoStar to all the big info companies are saying that there's a huge supply right now of apartment homes that were started right after COVID, but because of inflation, permits are down, lenders are harder to lend to, are harder to get money out, and it's more expensive to build these homes. Inflation hasn't gone down. It's still super expensive than what it was in 2020 when these first deals were coming to the banks, underwriting. There's going to be a shortage of housing the second half of the year. Supply is going to be gone. Not my opinion, the opinion of all the big info specialists, CoStar, and those guys, which you should be using some sort of data analytics to give you your information, that I think you're going to have tremendous opportunity in the next 2 or 3 years. I think it's why Grant has been buying so many deals. I don't think he expected that there was going to be this floating rate debt issue, but he knew I'm going to buy whatever I can because in a few years it's going to be worth more. I did a portfolio presentation last night for my investors. And rent has risen $345 since 2020.
Wow.
Why would you not have your cash in real estate, in real bricks and sticks? Because as inflation went up, so did my properties. Yeah, it got turned off by the cap rates and interest rates. It's going to come back down. We're going to normalize again. And you're still going to have rent growth. And that's what I should have said is that when there's no construction, then everything you have becomes more valuable. No construction means that you can charge more in rent. So you just got to hold on. I'm a big conspiracy guy. I almost feel like these Blackstone guys, and they're all connected and sleeping with the Fed. Jerome Powell, I don't know who'd want to sleep with him, but he's definitely connected. And it's almost like there was so much independent owners, so many syndicators, that those are the ones getting wiped out right now. The big deep pockets, Blackstone, those guys can just raise another fund and they can fix their problems. Some deals they give back. I've seen that. But if you can only give back 10% to give back 90% later, like they're the ones that have money. Because right now, I don't know how it is for you guys, retail equity, your syndicator base, your investor base is kind of wiped out. Because they didn't just invest with you; they invested with like 8 or 9 other guys. We did a cash call for deals, and one guy said, "Man, I'm in 10 deals, and 9 of them have asked for cash." So the investors are a little scared. The investors are a little illiquid. They need a good year of earnings to have cash again. So who has cash? The institution guys. And so I think that if you can get deals right now, they're going to be tremendously worth more in the next 2 to 3 years. I think you're going to have massive rent growth beginning at the end of the year, second half of the year, all of 25, when rates are going to continue to come down, 26 and beyond. I think we are turning into a renter nation, and we have been for a while. And you will. It started with back after the recession, when people lost their houses and turned into apartments. There was a moment to refinance in 2020. I mean, my house, I put it under 4%. And I will never leave that house probably, because I'm not going to get a rate at 3.125 or whatever I got ever again. I mean, I missed the 2.75 window, but I got in there at 3 and 1/8. I'm not going to find money that cheap again. So you're going to have to do. They're never going to let go of these homes either. Who's buying the single family houses? You guys, us, investors. The people that would normally live there don't have the 20% to put down. I did a refinance 2 weeks ago on 2 deals. That was the hardest refinance I've ever done. I had to get out of my floating rate hell and put into permanent debt, even though I know it's gonna come down. I didn't have the cash to keep going, so we had to just find safety, and we did. We found $10,000-$12,000 a month of safety, but nowhere what it was in January of 22. But my point is, it was the hardest refinance I ever had to do, because banks are scrutinizing it. They did 3 separate inspections. They've never done more than 1. And I had 3 different people from the lender wanting to bless the deal. The lender, the person that was going to buy the loan from the bank, the investors, the bond holders, like they never done that. So lending's tough. So you're not going to see a lot of new construction in the next 12 to 18 months, because people are you're seeing all the banking issues that are going on. You can't lend when there's a banking crisis in your backyard. So I think it's a wonderful time, long-winded answer, but I think it's a wonderful time to buy as much real estate as you can today, because it's going to be worth more at the end of the year, and even worth more in the next 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you talk to people that that aren't homeowners. I mean, a lot of the general sentiment among younger folks, and I'm 34, Brock's a little bit younger, 29, but my sister and people her age that are in their mid to late 20s, they're like, I don't know how I'll ever be able to buy something. And you look at I think Visual Capitalist is one of my favorite newsletters, and they had an article or a newsletter email yesterday that came out that said it showed a graph of affordability versus for like the median household income versus the median home, and it's 6x right now. And that's almost double what it was even in 2008. And so I mean, if you just Google Visual Capitalist, like, whatever median or home affordability, it was staggering to see this. So I completely agree. We are becoming a renter nation, and the folks that can own.
Over 50% of the nation rents.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild.
And then let me add to that. My first house I bought in 2002, and it was $129,000 in an area called Bear Creek, far west side of town. Lots of land, so stuff never goes up in value because they can always keep building. I looked at it yesterday, $300,000 for that house from '02 to today. Now, my down payment, I did like an 80-10-10, so my down payment was $15,000 or $14,000 at the time. What's 20% of 300? That's $60K. I don't know if I could have bought that house back then, having to put down $60,000 of a deposit. I'm sorry, of down payment. So then, what would I have done? I would have rented.
And then a 7% payment on, interest rate on top of that, right?
Good point. I would have rented. So I think this is the new norm. I think it's very expensive. Even when the interest rates come down to like 5, those houses are just going to go up in value. And I first heard the lady from Shark Tank. What's the blonde lady's Corcoran? She was the first one that I heard say that on Instagram one day. She said, when rates come down, those houses are not going to come down with it. That's what everybody thought was going to happen. That's not going to happen. The house value is going to go up because people can now afford more because they got used to 7%. Oh, wow, now I can get that 300. Well, let's see if somebody can pay 330. Let's see if somebody can pay 375. And it just keeps moving. So if that happens, then our real estate's going to go up more too. They're not going to be able to get there. So we're going to be able to raise rents, which means our NOI is going to go up. And it's just a new norm. So it's foolish to leave your money in a money market account. They're bribing you with 5 and 6% rates right now, because the moment Jerome Powell, that devil, says something and rates go down, that money market is going to go down and you're not going to be making it. But if you were to put your money into an apartment deal right now and just let the operator operate, and the next 3 years, watch your value. We may not get the same cash flow that we once used to get, but you're going to get the appreciation, which is what happens in other countries like London. My old partner, he made zero cash flow on the apartments that he owned, his flats that he owned in prime central London. But he says, that's the game here. It's amazing you guys get, this is back in the 07, 08, 09, but it's amazing you guys get cash flow. We make our money when we sell, which they would get a big 2, 3, 4x when they would sell. And that's what's going to happen here. We're going to see lower cash flow, but we're going to see higher, you're going to make your money on the back end, is what I'm trying to say. Higher appreciation.
Yeah.
That whole hybrid model, that's gone now. Now, here's the bigger question. Let me ask you guys, right? If you know it's hard to get into a house, which asset class of apartments are you doing then? A, B, C?
I mean, I think it's going to be. I think workforce housing is going to get into more of the A class or higher B plus class, and I think Section 8 is going to expand a bit. That's just my perspective. I read something about that the other day. I don't know if we lost Brock or not, but what do you think about that?
Well, I own a couple. I own 3 A deals, and 2 of the 3 don't make the money that I thought they were going to make. One makes pretty good money, but it's in a tertiary market where there isn't that many Class A. The other 2 are here in Houston. One's in the medical center. One's in the far west side town of a booming area. But I don't know if I'm going to make the cash flow on those deals. My cash flow is coming from my B deals. right in the value adds. Even deals that I bought a long time ago, they're getting full again with just light little renovations because that's what people can afford. But as it continues to become harder, where are they going to go? Are they become C-class renters? And if so, what happens to C-class renters? They become Section 8? Maybe that's the key. And then what happens to the A guys? The idea is that you can't make money on A's because they choose to be renters. But if they're forced to be renters like everybody else, do you now start making cash flow? Because again, we make money when people renew, not when they move in. That's why you don't make money on the A's, because they can move out whenever they want. The B's are renters by need. And so if you can keep them, you'll get that second, third, and fourth rental contract. We actually created a resident retention team that Rockstar Cares, Resident Cares, that calls every single move-in and says, how was your move-in? And we get it fixed right away because we want to create a good first impression. They call every notice to vacate. Do you really want to move? We go through, they're trained. They go through the whole, like, this is what's going to cost you. Well, no, I just want that hole fixed. I didn't know there was a hole. Can we fix it tomorrow? Yeah, okay, great. Now, maybe you gave up an increase, but you saved $4,000 because they didn't move out, right? So you've got to merge with the times. You've got to see what's going on. I'm thinking A's might make money in the future on a casual because they can't afford the houses.
That's what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I'm thinking. And I just read an article about it. I'll send it to you after, or to your admin after. There's a couple things I'll shoot over because I think everything that you talked about I think will be very, very helpful for our audience. I think I got a lot out of it. You're clearly an expert at what you do and have fought through trials and tribulations, both personally and professionally, and that's very admirable. So I would just say I really, really appreciate you coming on. I'm grateful for getting the opportunity to sit down with you. So you're the apartment rock star. I want to help funnel people your way. So where's the best way to find you?
Yeah. So first of all, that's my Instagram name, @Apartment Rockstar, and you can find it. We do a lot of free videos, free stuff. Just conversation. We'll share this kind of podcast clips of this. But if you want more, if you want to be on a weekly mastermind, if you want to be a one-on-one student with us, then hit me at 832-942-1196, or we have a link there where you can come to our next mastermind event and get time with me. I think I was born a coach. That's my natural gift that God gave me. I was always able to get the best out of people and bring something that's a little complicated, bring it down to make it very easy so that the layman can answer. And if I can help anybody out there that wants that additional time, either in a mastermind setting or a one-on-one, please give me a call. Hit me up at 832-942-1196 or send an email at investing@rockstar-capital.com. And, at a minimum, follow me on Instagram @Apartment Rockstar.
That is great, and that's one more thing I gotta add on. Brock and I have spent a lot of money in masterminds and personal education and coaching, and it's been even better than any of the best deals we've ever done. Just like your $10,000 was the best investment you've ever made, those are the best investments I've ever made, and I think you would be. It would be an honor for anyone to be able to get in, connected with you in a mastermind and get coaching from someone that's been through that.
I appreciate that because my mastermind is the only one that's taught by a 2-time national operator of the year. None of those are, not Rod Khleif, not Grant Cardone. Those are my friends, but they're not operators like I am. I think you can hear the difference. They're going to talk to you how to raise money. And like, I'm not here to help you raise money. I'm here to give you stuff to help you raise money, but I'm here to help you increase the valuation of your apartments. And if that's important to you, you guys or whoever should definitely give me a call and let's talk. Because I've been helping guys I've only done like 12 months, over the last 12 months, get into their first deal or change their mindset from buying 10, 12 unit deals to now buying 50, 100 unit deals so they can get the economies of scale. And it's all confidence, right? It's all information. Be around people that have something that you don't know and that they're willing to share with you. A lot of guys, you join their mastermind and that's it. Hey, see you later. I love Grant. I have his cell phone number, but he doesn't return every text. If you send me a text message or a call, I'm going to answer the phone, and I'm always Natalie's here. She'll tell you the truth. I always over deliver. We say it's going to be a 30-minute call and it turns into like an hour. We say we're going to do a 45-minute podcast and it turns into like an hour. It's just what happens. I enjoy giving back and talking. So if I can help you guys or your audience, please let me know. Hit me up at Apartment Rockstar and send me a DM and let's chat.
I'd love to come down to one of those things, and I got to, every time you say something, I'm like, there's another point I got to make too. The people that just teach raising capital or finding deals, that's half the battle. If you can learn what you're talking about is how to operate and increase the net operating income of a property, the capital will come. And then you'll be able to find more deals and you'll be able to know what to look for because you're like, hey, that deal right there, I know how to increase the value of that property. And then if you do that, you build the track record and the capital will find you.
It's called the confidence. When you're talking and you know your shit, the confidence comes out. So, Grant's got this little, chart with the deal and then the debt and then the equity, but he's leaving something in there. There's confidence. When you speak confidently, the lenders want to lend you money because they see your business plan. They know you've identified a deal. When you go to your equity and you have your business plan, you have great lending terms, then guess what? You sound like you know what you're doing. And people want to go. I've raised over $180 million in the last 10 years. 90 million within the real estate club, the other 90 million the last 4 years on just social media, getting known. Well, how did I raise so much money in the last 4 versus because I was confident. I had 10 years of history. I had, track record of 100% refinance events for I returned $130 million to my investors. When you've done that, it sounds like you've done it. You can hear somebody who's been through, the wars and the battles, right? I'm the guy you want. After you learn from Grant and Khalib about how to syndicate, I'm the one that helps you actually, help you determine what happens after the ink dries. Because that's what separates everybody. We can all buy an apartment deal today. We all figure that out. But what happens after the ink dries? What do you do then? Where are you going to go when you have a question? Who's going to help you through that, right? Who's going to help you create your business plan? Like, that's the key. That's the key. And I'm that guy. I'm the operator. I'm the one that's going to get you to the refinance event.
I love it. There's a ton of value there. Thanks again, Robert. I really appreciate it, and we'll definitely be in touch. Like I said, I'd love to come to one of the events and look more into this mastermind myself because I believe in it all, networking and people helping people.
Well, we'll do a 2-for-1 for you guys. So that way we'll cut the cost in half.
I love it. I appreciate it.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much. I really appreciate being on your show, and thank you to your listeners for listening to me. And hopefully I didn't come off anything. I just know my stuff, and I want to be able to share with as many guys as I can. So thanks, you guys, and have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you very much, Robert. You too.
Thanks for listening to the interview with the apartment rock star, Robert Martinez. I got a lot out of this conversation. I think the biggest point for me was become a great operator. It's one thing to understand how to underwrite deals, how to raise money, but the biggest thing in the apartment game specifically is knowing how to operate these properties and asset management. And he really went in depth on this in this podcast discussing that. So thanks for listening. If you found value out of this episode, please ask that you like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube channel, send it to anyone else that might get value out of this episode. We're really putting a lot of resources into growing this, so we'd appreciate you clicking that subscribe button. Thanks, and see you on the next episode.
Smash the like button and the subscribe button. Let's go.